How's it going, everybody? It's Young here, and welcome to a Death Stranding news update. The following information comes from website Glixel, who recently published an article detailing an interview that they did with Hideo Kojima, where the game creator shared some insight and information about his new studio and his upcoming new title. I'm going to highlight the important bits. If you want to read the full interview, be sure to head over to Glixel and check it out. One of the first topics of conversation was regarding the difference between his circumstances with his previous employer, #FuckKonami, and his current circumstances as an independent developer. The way Kojima put it is that when he was at #FuckKonami, it was more akin to being in charge of a fleet of ships, while being independent is more akin to being in charge of a single ship, which allows him the freedom to look more deeply into the process and going-ons of this one ship and make sure it's running properly. He also has the freedom to take this one ship wherever he wants, whereas with the fleet, he had to make sure everyone was in line and there was less room for steering in other directions, if you will. Then, when asked if Kojima ever considered taking a break from game development, Kojima said that he would continue working on and creating games until he dies, although he might consider working on other fields from time to time, whether it be creating a movie or writing a novel. The topic then shifted to Death Stranding and how that idea came to be conceived following Kojima's departure from his previous employer. Kojima responded by stating that he had several ideas at the front of his mind, but the one that he ended up choosing was one that would be best for the market and the idea that they were most enthusiastic about making. He also mentioned that it actually wasn't an idea that had been cooking for a very long time. It was a relatively new idea that they went with. The interviewer then inquired about Kojima possibly going to darker places with his latest projects, as noted by his most recent works, PT and Death Stranding, wondering if this was a reflection or catharsis of the toll that the past few years have taken on him. Kojima responded with the following: "I don't have a dark mindset in particular. Death Stranding is not a horror game. I just wanted to make something that looks very unique, something you haven't seen before, something with a more artistic slant to it. I'm not pursuing a dark aspect to the game." So it looks like Death Stranding may not be as dark as it appears to be. It'll surely cover some serious themes, but Kojima isn't actively pursuing a dark aspect or trying to make this into a horror game. Definitely could have fooled me though with those two trailers, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how the final product pans out. Moving on, the interviewer asked Kojima about the Decima game engine and his partnership with Guerrilla Games, the studio that essentially offered their engine to Kojima Productions on a silver platter. Kojima mentioned that having the engine helps greatly, especially when it comes to reducing the length of time needed to create the game. While creating their own engine would mean that they'd have full control over it, that would take 5 years of additional work to make. So for Death Stranding, Kojima went with a third-party engine to make sure he could get it out in a decent amount of time. But even then, Guerrilla was also kind enough to allow Kojima to make modifications and essentially turn the engine into a collaborative effort. So now, both Kojima Productions and Guerrilla Games are programming a single engine collaboratively to make it even more powerful at twice the speed. Sounds like a pretty great partnership to me. Then, on the topic of capturing a natural 3D likeness of actors like Mads Mikkelsen, Norman Reedus, and Guillermo del Toro without falling into the uncanny valley problem that movies such as Kingsglaive or Star Wars Rogue One may suffer from, Kojima answered that it's all about the love that the creators put into their work to make each actor look as cool or as realistic as possible, concluding with, "We really love these people and the characters they play." Moving on, Kojima talked a bit about breaking the fourth wall in video games and acknowledging the players directly. Kojima's intent with doing stuff like this is so that his games can extend beyond the screen so that the players surrounding can be part of the game as well. He particularly cited some of the gimmicks that he used in Metal Gear Solid with the DualShock rumble, the memory card, and things like having to check the back of the disc case to proceed further into the game. While Kojima won't be using the same tricks again, he did say that he will continue to break the fourth wall in the future and do things that no one else has ever never done before in that regard. So basically, yes, do expect Death Stranding to break the fourth wall one way or another. The interviewer then followed up by asking if, despite the serious, deep undertones of Death Stranding, we can expect some humor as well. Kojima responded with, "Humor is a very important aspect for games. You play a game for a very long time. Death Stranding is a big game too, and you put stress on the player and you lead them through peaks and valleys. Humor is an important aspect to make sure the player can enjoy playing across these peaks and valleys. So we will have humor in this game too, but to a degree that it doesn't ruin the world setting. It will be at an appropriate level." So there you go, it looks like Death Stranding will feature some of that quirky Kojima humor and Easter eggs that we have come to know and love. I'm also sure that humor will tie into whatever fourth wall breaking moments Kojima has in store for us with Death Stranding. And I'm also sure that there will be some pretty deep fourth wall breaking moments as well that somehow tie into the themes of the game, like connections and death and whatever. Kojima was then asked about any actresses or female actors that he admires, and Kojima straight up said Emma Stone, particularly because of her role in La La Land, a movie which he's watched 3 times already. I do want to point out that Kojima is searching and considering actors for a lead female role, and if he can get Emma Stone on board, that'd be pretty sweet. Alright, so that's as far as the interview goes when it comes to relevant bits of information that you'd be interested in. The rest of the conversation dives into topics like movies and Kojima's love for Mad Max, Kojima's thoughts on VR and how he believes VR will change our lives, how he believes movies and games will meld together as one medium in the very near future, especially now that VR has come into play, his thoughts on taking an episodic approach to storytelling, and more. Again, for the rest of the information, check out the full interview. But for Death Stranding news, this is all you really need to know. So with that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know in the comments below what you think about Kojima's statements regarding the tone of Death Stranding, breaking the fourth wall, and sprinkling in some humor. And to be further updated on all things Death Stranding, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!